Yes, now everyone, welcome back to another episode of Predicts here on the Dom's Ball Chat YouTube channel. This is the second upload of today. If you haven't checked out my squad reaction to the Socceroos squad to take on Lebanon in the World Cup qualifiers, make sure you go ahead and check that out. I'll leave a link down in the description. But today, we are taking on Cody Ojeda in Predicts, friend of the channel and human football encyclopedia. But before we get into that, let's check in on the scores from last week. Me and Harry both picked up 3 points each. I got the correct result between Brisbane and Sydney. Harry got the correct result between Perth and Newcastle. So no points gained. I'm on 60. The guests are on 68. But without further ado, let's get into this week's Predicts. Cody, thanks for coming back on the Predicts. How have you been since we last caught up on Predicts?
Man, I don't even remember the last time I came on. I think it's been a minute. Yeah, it's been a little bit crazy. Trying to get some YouTube stuff set up. Be joining you there soon, hopefully. I've said it a few times now. I just got to actually act on it. Podcast, that'll be back up soon. The Common Football Podcast. I'm hoping to get that sorted by the 22nd of March. Hopefully, I can actually confirm that on the socials very soon. And starting a weekly one as well, where I kind of just talk nonsense for 20-30 minutes because the people said they wanted it. So you know what? I'm a man of the people. I give the people what they want.
Let's get straight into it. Western United taking on Melbourne Victory is the first game of this weekend, being played on the Thursday night. Obviously, the last time this game was played, it was that dramatic 2-1 comeback by Melbourne Victory in injury time. But since then, Western United have been the much better team, in my opinion, beating the Wanderers last weekend and picking up, I think, 3 wins in their last 5. They're in some real good form. Melbourne Victory, they picked up their first win in a while last week against Adelaide, but I don't think they're going to be enough for Western United in this one, and I am going to go with a 3-1 Western United win. First game of this week. We only got 5 this week, and the first game is Western United taking it on Victory. Western have found some form. The Victory picked up a big win against Adelaide last week. Who's taken out this one?
I've given this some thought, and by giving this some thought, I've just realised this fixture was being played about 5 minutes ago. But honestly, the more I think about it, the more I look into it, I'd actually back Western here. It's definitely a vibes call. I know Victory, like they've had a couple wins in the last 4 games off the back of one against Adelaide. But Western, they look like they're playing well. They've played good football all season. They're at a stage in the season where it's either they perform now or their season's basically done. And despite the fact that they're essentially, well, they are at the bottom of the table, I've just got a sneaky feeling they'll find a way to kind of rise their way back up. Not necessarily make finals, but find a way maybe to work their way to 10th or 9th. I think it happens, or a step closer here. I'd actually go, I'm going to say 2-1 Western United.
Next game is Newcastle Jets taking on Adelaide United at McDonald Jones Stadium, which it could well be the most entertaining game of this weekend. 2 teams languishing towards the bottom of the table, but they like to score goal, these 2 teams. Nestori Irankunda's found some form. He scored last weekend with a belting goal against Melbourne Victory. And Newcastle Jets with Stamatolopoulos, Clayton Taylor, they've got some real strike power up front. This could be a high-scoring affair. I'm going to go for a draw, actually. I think these 2 teams will cancel each other out. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw in this one. Match 2, Newcastle Jets taking on Adelaide. Basically a fight for not getting the wooden spoon, I think, at this point. Who do you back not to get the wooden spoon out of these 2 teams?
Oh, this would be a great match if there was relegation in this league. I'll say that much. It's just 2 sides that both of them need a win very, very desperately, and especially the way Western United are playing, they'll definitely be looking over their shoulder as well. If I had to pick one, I'd probably say Newcastle, mainly because they're at home. Adelaide typically don't travel well. They don't really play well at home at the moment either. So I don't know if you could say they don't travel. They're just not very good at the moment. But no, I think honestly, if I look at it, Newcastle are probably playing slightly better football. I'd back them to take this one out. I'll go for an exciting one here. 4-2. I want some goals.
Next up, we have Wellington taking on Sydney FC. Ufi Talai going back over to face his prodigy in Giancarlo Italiano, which may be the fixture of the round. Wellington, they'll want to take that top spot back off of the Central Coast Mariners, as the Mariners don't play this weekend. as they have AFC Cup commitments. So that game against Melbourne City has been postponed to a later date. So Wellington might want to put the pressure back on the Mariners in this one, and I think they do it. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. Normally, Wellington are known for their defensive, but I think this is going to be a free-flowing, high-scoring game. I'm going to go with a 3-2 win for Wellington Phoenix. And then we have maybe the fixture of the round, Wellington Phoenix taking on Sydney FC over in New Zealand. Ufutale taking on his former team. It's a very important match for both teams. Wellington, they want to try and take back top spot, and Sydney, they want to extend their lead away from the 6 and the teams outside the 6.
Yeah, not just because Tale used to coach at Wellington Phoenix, and Italiano will be very familiar with him. I do think Wellington's probably one of the best teams, or best set up teams in the competition to mitigate what Sydney can do. And Sydney, very good counter-pressing side, very good with their high press. But Wellington Phoenix just seem like the side that won't let Sydney FC hold onto the ball for too long. Or maybe let them hold onto the ball for too long. They won't give Sydney enough space to be able to push forward onto them, I think, in a way. They're basically what I'm trying to say with very mumble-jumble words is that Wellington are a very good side defensively and could very well shut down Sydney FC. It'll be a scrappy affair, as a Wellington Phoenix match usually is. They're at home as well, so you can back on them to win. 1-0 win. Probably a bit of a boring game as well, considering what Sydney have been producing recently.
And the second of the 3 Saturday games this week, no Sunday game, as I've mentioned. We have the Mariners and City game postponed, but we have Brisbane Roar taking on MacArthur out of Ballymore. Bit of a different scenery change for Brisbane in this one. MacArthur, they're in some good form at the moment, sitting 4th on the table. They want to go back up to 3rd and maybe even push for a top 2 spot themselves. And Brisbane, they're fighting for finals. If they want to make finals, they're going to have to win most of their games from here on out. With the Wanderers kind of choking away at the moment, it gives Brisbane that opportunity to push into finals. And, they'll want to prove it against MacArthur here. I'll be at this game. I'm hoping for goals for my sake. Anyway, I'm going to go with a 3-1 Brisbane win. I think they've just got the more hunger to win this game, in my opinion. And then the second Saturday game, we have Brisbane Roar taking on MacArthur at Ballymore, actually. First game at Ballymore for the season. Very important game, especially for Brisbane if they want to make finals.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Ballymore's like as a venue. I know people have said a lot about the public transport going into the stadium. That's why it's not really a viable option long-term or an irregular occurrence. But it'll be interesting to see if people like the vibe and it's actually worth the trip. So from a social perspective, looking forward to this one. From on the pitch, I'm still kind of looking forward to this one, actually. I don't know if I'm expecting a fireworks-filled affair or something like that. MacArthur could do with a win. Brisbane still kind of in the hunt for finals, considering how Wanderers have been, of course. I'll probably say a draw with this one, maybe 1-1.
And then last game of the Saturday and of the round, it's Perth Glory taking on the Western Sydney Wanderers. And geez, aren't the Wanderers in some bad form at the moment, losing 7-0 to Melbourne City. They've had a couple of good wins like that this season, Melbourne City, but Wanderers, they're just in some dire state at the moment. Perth Glory, kind of on the opposite. They're on the up. They haven't had the best results of late, but I think with Adam Taggart being selected for the Socceroos, I think that's going to give them an extra boost. I think they're going to win this one quite easily, if I'm going to be honest. Perth's always Wanderers' bogey team anyway, plus the travel. It's just lined up for a Wanderers loss for me, and I'm going to go with a 3-1 Perth win. And then the final game of the round, we have Perth Glory taking on the Wanderers. Wanderers obviously in some pretty dire form and dire states at the moment. Perth, this is a very big opportunity for them to take 3 points away and start building towards next season.
You've got a Perth side who are generally good at home. Have been in decent form. They've only won 1 in their last 5, but a few draws in there. They've only lost 1 in that time as well. And just generally, the vibes seem to be kind of good around the place. Whereas Wanderers, completely different vibes. The place looks like it's in disarray. They've lost, I think it's like 6 in their last 7 or something ridiculous like that. Definitely 4 in their last 5. They've conceded 14 goals in their last 3. Their coach hasn't even bothered showing up for their last press conference. This match kind of only points one way, and it's the Wanderers grinding out a 2-1 win. It just seems to happen when Wanderers seem like everything's going poorly. They somehow manage to spur a win, and when things are going well for Perth, they somehow find a way to lose a match that should be a guaranteed win for them. So we put that together. Wanderers shock everyone, kind of win and come out with a result this weekend. And I reckon they'll do it not in the dodgiest way possible, but in the most, not even undeserved. They'll grind a win now. That's the best way to say it.
Well, thanks for coming on, Cody. Where can people find you? You mentioned the podcast that's starting back up, but in the meantime, where can people find you and keep up to date?
I actually got to remember what my socials are all called. Cody Ojeda _ on Instagram, Cody J Ojeda on Twitter, Cody Ojeda _ on TikTok. It'll be Cody Ojeda _ on TikTok on YouTube as well. From what I remember, I may have that wrong. I don't know my own socials accounts, but if you're interested, check out the Common Football Podcast as well. That'll be up and running on the 22nd of March. I know I said I'm aiming for it. I will do what I can to make sure that's out by then. And Oz Football Weekly coming soon as well, so stay tuned. I don't like sleep, clearly.
Thanks again for Cody for hopping on the Predicts. I'll drop all of his links down in the description. I'm super excited for that podcast he is going to be starting up. Man knows a lot about football, so I'm excited to hear what he's got to say. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think of my predictions down in the comments below, and don't forget to drop yours down in the comments. As always, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel for more A-League and Australian football content coming in the near future. But until next time, I'll see you soon.